How's it going, everyone? This is Jason Navarro. You're listening to Tongues Out Podcast. And let's jump right into today's subject, which is kind of a follow-up on yesterday's podcast. And so my thoughts on it, do I want to keep it going? And just some questions I got from people, some comments. And first, I just want to say thank you to everyone that came in yesterday. I did not market the live podcast at all outside of just like talking about it a couple times on this platform, like through my actual podcast. But I even said I was going to do it at 3 Pacific Standard Time, and I didn't end up doing it until like literally like 8 o'clock. I had a lot of stuff that came up. My RPG session, which I didn't really talk about yesterday with my friends, we had our first session and it went great. It was super fun. It was a ton of laughter, but that session went on longer than expected. And then parenting got involved, and I wanted to see my daughter and hang out with her for a bit. And then finally I was like, oh, shoot, I need to do my live podcast. And so it was done later on in the afternoon or later on at night. And so I apologize on that. I'm going to try to improve on that. It's going to be still, I'm probably going to do the live podcast at night. For now, they might change eventually to earlier in the morning if I can figure out how to do that and see if my wife can wake up earlier. She likes to sleep in on her days off, and I don't blame her. She wakes up super early in the morning. So, I have no issue with that whatsoever. But if lo and behold, if that can kind of shift a little bit, then maybe I'll do them in the morning right before my RPG session with my friends at noon. Or try to figure it out in some way. Maybe that session went longer than expected and every other one won't be as long. But we were having so much fun that we kind of overlooked the time. But anyways, so that's addressing the time aspect. No one really commented on it. But again, everyone that came in to listen to the live podcast really didn't even know I was doing a podcast in general, which is great. The people that came in were people that were assuming that I was going to be doing like a video game session, which I normally do on Twitch. And I had some, I had people coming in that I didn't even expect were going to come in. And I actually got a live guest off of it, which was awesome. I got to test that out. And from all of that, one of the realizations I realized was as much as I thought I was prepared for doing a live podcast, I still overlooked a lot of things. The first one was that my streaming platform that I use on my computer, so everything's kind of hardwired into each other, but I'm using different systems for different things. And some people recognize that during the live stream. So I use these headsets right here. I can't really hear right now how I sound on my podcast, but these ones I use for my podcasting. And you're really not going to see this unless you see like the YouTube version of this podcast. But these are the ones I use for my podcasting. These are the ones I use for anything I do on my computer, like my gaming, listening to YouTube. And the reason why I have two different ones is I honestly don't know why. Outside of the fact that these are USB-based headsets, so I can't really connect them to the platform that I use for my podcast system, which everything like for the podcast is kind of wired to that, and then this thing is wired to my computer. And so when it comes to like normally when I do my podcasting stuff, I have these headsets on, but ideally I would love to use these because these ones have like they have like AC inside of them. You really can't tell unless I like showed the inside of them, but that's what it looks like on the inside of them. And so they have like an inductive plate where this is cold to the touch. It's like ice cold. And then on the outside, it gets warm out here. So it draws all the heat towards the plate over here, and then it stays cool in there. But this autofocus is sometimes out of whack sometimes. But anyways, yeah, so I would love to use these headsets, but I can't. And so when I was doing the live stream yesterday, my audio was configured to this headset, and I could hear it off my computer. But when it came to recording the audio for my podcast to upload to like Anchor so people can listen to it off of like, YouTube podcasts or whatever. For everyone that's not doing video, it was, they missed out a big section of it because I didn't realize that the audio for my like my podcast I was having with that person, my guest, everyone could hear what I was saying, but they couldn't hear what he was saying. And I realized it when I was looking at my podcast system over here. It has like audio levels, and I can see when I'm talking, so I know when I'm working and when everything else is working. And I was realizing that the input for the PC setup was not being recognized at all. And so um that unfortunately I missed out on like the very beginning, but that was great anyways, because the person I had on had some sensitive things that initially they probably didn't want to be recorded. So that's why there's like a little gap of hearing my friend on there. But ultimately it turned out great. I actually do want to keep it going. Already learned my mistakes, and so that's not going to happen again. And it was pretty awesome having him on. It's going to be something that I'm going to try to spend this week to try to market, so I have more people coming in and getting more people involved in it, and then getting more input. I was definitely getting a lot of I lucked out in the sense that I had someone coming in that we had a long discussion on the podcast, which was great. And ideally that's kind of how I want it to happen, is that for subscribers eventually, like when it gets big enough, I'll have my subscribers coming in, and then I'll randomly pick one or someone that's an expert in the field. And if they bring it up that they are, then I'll invite them in, and then we'll have a discussion. And that's kind of the way I want to do it. I'll randomly select a list of people if no one's really an expert in the field that I'm talking about. And then we'll just like get their input and thoughts if they're willing to be a part of it. And I'll see how it works out with, one-on-one, like with a complete stranger, or like not stranger per se, but people that are I don't know personally, but are always engaged with my content. And then if it works out like on one-on-one discussions, I might want to do a panel discussion, which will be kind of cool, as long as we can kind of keep it where it's not overloading the podcast. And I don't know if I want to do more than 3 people at a time, where it's like me and 2 other people, but we'll see. I mean, it's all experimenting with this podcast. We're about to hit 90 episodes, which would be 3 months. That is just so crazy to think about. At the end of this week, I think we'll be at 90 episodes. So I'll tell you the exact date, actually. So 4 days from now. So yeah. So this Friday will be our 90th episode, which is kind of crazy to think about. I still remember when I first started doing this podcast, and just seeing how it, and continuing doing them daily, by the way, which is, from what I'm told, very like not normally how it's done. Like, it's especially when they go on for more than 15 minutes an episode, which, I mean, like if you look at some of my episodes, they're averaging now about that. They're averaging about 25 minutes. So I have some 30-minute ones. Yesterday's was a lot longer because it was a live podcast. I'm assuming those are going to be a lot longer. But the rest of them were relatively short in the last 15 days. Last month, actually, they've been about like 25 minutes on average. I've had as short as like 10 minutes, which is pretty great. And some long ones as well. I have one here, like a 41-minute one. But so I'm definitely happy about the direction that this podcast is taking. I'm enjoying getting more involved with it. Eventually, this is going to segue, like recording them is going to segue into me wanting to edit the work. Not really edit the content, because that I'm never going to edit like the content that I have, but maybe learning to make them shorter, maybe add some like additional content that supports what I'm talking about in a video, and then uploading that into YouTube, which I think will be pretty fun to learn. I'm not there yet. I'm still, enjoying just using the equipment that I have at the moment, but I can see where this is taking me. Eventually, there's not really any more equipment I can get. I already purchased the Elgato device, even though I said I wasn't going to do that. So I'm going to be able to record in 4K for YouTube, which is going to be so awesome. You'll be able to see the style I have in more detail. It's slowly going away, but it's still there. But yeah, the quality of the video will be there. I think the last part will be kind of working on the environment, because I don't know how comfortable, not comfortable is not the word I'm looking for, but how how creative I can get back here. I'm still thinking about it, and we'll see. It's like an experimenting kind of thing, but I um I have everything I need now. Like I have like the greatest podcast device I can use. I have great microphones. I got a great camera. I got the 4K, like the capture card now to record in 4K. Um, I have the software. So at this point, it's more just kind of getting into the editing aspect of it after that. And so I'm kind of excited about that. I know that's the next step. And it's also going to be a huge learning curve because I have never, I've done like simple stuff for gaming before, like making some like gaming videos. And I was doing that for a little bit when I was streaming before with a friend of mine, Luke. We were playing, uh, wow. Black Desert Online, excuse me. Woo, brain farting on that one. And there was like we were really good at the game, and so we took highlights of us like destroying people in that game. And then I was like getting into like editing the work and uploading it on YouTube. But that got short lived because the arena that we were playing in got shut down by that gaming company, which was a sad moment for us. Um, but so yeah, I'm gonna get back into it, which is gonna be great. And I have like the Adobe Premiere, and that's gonna be so insane to try to learn that system. It's gonna take me like 6 months, I feel like, to learn that on top of like work and podcasting and parenting. But it's a skill set that I can take with me forever, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so ultimately, I feel like Fridays will be reserved for talking about some really fun facts. Sundays will be the live stream. And if the live stream works out and it does really well and it gets really popular, I might look into doing like additional days. But Sunday for sure will be a consistent live stream. And Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, not sure yet. As I get more listeners and start marketing this more, which that's going to be another focus I'm going to be spending the time to do, actually getting away from like the editing work. Now I like once everything is set up the way I want to or want it to be, after I get like one more live stream in, I'm going to start blasting this and start working on marketing, and taking all my expertise that I have in that and like blowing up this podcast. So people are like my wife, especially, she has asked me like, why haven't I taken more time to like market it? And I just wasn't comfortable with the content that I was creating. Even though I've gotten a lot of positivity from a lot of people, I've never really gotten a lot of negativity. I've gotten some, constructive thoughts on what I could do with the podcast, and but no one ever really was like, no, I don't like it. So it's always been very positive with what I'm doing, and I think that's what's making it so much easier for me to do them on a daily basis. But at the same time, there was just a part of me that just wasn't comfortable with where I was at with the content that I was creating. And I enjoy every episode I've done. That's not what I'm talking about. It's more like the whole system, I guess is what I'm talking about. Like the video, the audio, the everything. And then I wanted all of this so I can like market to different people. Like if you listen on YouTube, now you can find me there. If you want to find me on Twitch, you can find me there. If you want to find me on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Spotify, you can find me there. Like you can find me pretty much everywhere. You can find me on Instagram. The only last thing is like doing the blog, which it's been so difficult for me to kind of get it the way I want it to be. I don't know why I'm brain farting. I've made like a multitudes of different websites and blogs already, but for some reason with this one, it's been a pain. And I think it's because I'm using a new system. I'm using Squarespace for my blog. And so there's so many different website hosts, but I've used Wix, which is a big one, Squarespace, and WordPress. And Squarespace is probably, well, they used to be considered the most expensive, but they're not anymore. I think my Wix is actually more expensive. But you hear about Squarespace all the time now on YouTube too. Like they do a lot of sponsors. Like if you watch a lot of YouTube content, you'll see like a lot of like YouTubers, they have like a Squarespace. And I had this funny idea like where I want to like mock ads because I'm never going to do ads in my content. Like if someone came up to me and was like, "Hey, we're gonna pay you for a plugin," I'm not gonna do that. I'll promote a service that I use that I enjoy to use, but I don't want to be paid for it. I'd rather just promote it because it's great, and um unless like eventually like I see like I'm using the service a ton and I believe in it and it's great, then maybe I'll like make an agreement with the company at that point if I get that big. But for now, like I don't want to be like one of those people that you can clearly tell they don't use the service, but they promote it. I'm definitely not going to be that person. So like if I do promote something, it's because I truly believe in the item or the service or whatever it is. But I love when I see people like promote like, oh yeah, I developed my website on Squarespace. Squarespace allows you to just blah 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 blah. Click the link at the very end to get like a discount on the service. I've been more frustrated with Squarespace's system compared to like the other two platforms that I've used already. I don't know if it's just because I'm so used to Wix and WordPress, and maybe people that are listening to this are going to say otherwise, but I kind of want to mock these like big ones. Like another one is like if you watch a lot of video game YouTube content, Raid Shadow Legends. You know what I'm talking about when you hear that. But it's like, you know what game I like to play on my off time? I like to play Raid Shadow Legends. Raid Shadow Legends is a new and interactive RPG game that allows you to level up and make your characters look super epic with over 500 different champions. Blah 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 blah. It's a really bad game. The reviews are less than 4 stars. I've been thinking about doing like mock reviews, like or mock sponsorships, like as a joke, to like look at like the big sponsors and just be like, oh yeah, what's another one that I've used? So Squarespace would be a funny one for sure. Have you ever wanted to create a website and you're like you search on Google and you can't find any developer that you can trust? Well, why not sign up for Squarespace, where you pay $150 for a yearly membership to create a blog, and yet it takes you 3 months to try to utilize their system that's ass backwards. If you want to use Squarespace, click the link down below, but I would recommend not to. I'm really bad about this stuff anyways, uh, but yeah, ultimately, like I see a lot as I do more of these podcasts and get more involved with it. I I'm sorry about earlier, by the way. I just like a funny idea of mine to just do silly stuff like that. But I just see where this podcast is going, and I just get so much more excited about it. It's just super cool to finally have. Like I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. I didn't think I was going to get into it doing podcasting, but hey, you got to start somewhere, and so it'll be great doing it this way. Um, but I just want to thank everyone again for being a part of it. I got some extra listeners from yesterday's live podcast because, again, those people didn't even know I was doing podcasts before because I haven't been streaming in forever. So when people came in, they were asking questions about it. So I noticed that I've gotten some additional followers from that, which is cool. I think that's awesome. Thank you to those that did that. Um, and I'm super excited to see where this goes. But as always, thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. I look forward to doing daily ones forever and ever and ever. But until then, I'll catch you guys mañana. Peace. I gotta do better or figuring out a system to end these videos at the same time. I actually have something that I'm not using. I moved recently, and so like some of the stuff is still in boxes, but I have something that's gonna fix this problem. So you'll never see something like this ever again. But to the YouTubers, you get to see this part. But anyways, I'll catch you guys mañana. Bye.